Okay, just bear with me as we go live to YouTube. As I
I think you're live. Says
Okay.
on YouTube.
Is it showing up on YouTube?
Yeah, up in the upper right hand corner.
Okay, bear with me as we go live to.
We're on.
Okay, I just closed out of that, so let's hope there's no echo. Let me get back to. Okay, meeting is now live streamed on YouTube. This is great. Okay. So, welcome to the regular May meeting of the Danbury Democratic Town Committee. It is Monday, May 10th at 7:37 p.m. And we are conducting this meeting by Zoom, which is being live streamed to the Danbury Democrats YouTube channel. For future meetings, anyone wishing to submit questions or requests to address the Danbury Democratic Town Committee at the monthly meeting can do so by emailing Ddtc, that's in Danbury Democratic Town Committee, questions@gmail.com. Again, that's ddtcquestions@gmail.com. And the next monthly meeting will be Monday, June 8th at 7:30 p.m. My name is Andrea Gartner. I'm chair of the Danbury Democrats and will be leading this meeting. So this meeting is now called to order at 7:38. I would like to ask one of our guests to lead us in the pledge as I, just give me a moment to share the screen. Yes, Ed Hawthorne, who happens to be the chair of the Wolcott Democratic Town Committee and also with Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation, please.
Thank you. If everyone would stand.
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of
of the
United
United
States.
and to the republic for which it
States,
stands,
which stands
one
one
nation, under God,
God, indivisible,
liberty and justice
liberty,
for all.
justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. The acceptance of the call of the meeting, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who is that second?
Henry.
Henry, thank you. Now for the roll call. Joan Belizna. I did not see her in here. Will Love is excused. George O'Loughlin, I saw you come in. Dennis
Here.
Perkins. Okay, Helena Abrantes. Is Helena there with Jean? I don't know.
No.
No, okay, Helena. Tanya, I saw you come in. Ken Gucker. Elvis is present. Molly, I see. Kate Johnson's excused, tax season. She's got one more week. Frank Salvatore, I saw you come in. Is Carol Thibodeau on? Okay. Joe Britton and Louisa both excused, family circumstances. Sandra, I did not see. Farley Santos, I see. Roberto, Joe De Silva. Looks like the 5th Ward, we're all represented. Thank you. Ward 6, John, I believe is on. I saw him earlier. Henry Hall.
He's waving at you.
Okay, great. And I saw Henry and Julie come on. Sarah Passell. I did not see her come on. Okay. Glenda will probably be joining us in a little bit, unless she has the same conflict that Mary does. And I do see Lou Wilson and Rich Molinaro from the 7th Ward. So we have a quorum and we can proceed. This portion is our recognition of guests and public speakers. This evening, I'm happy to introduce Molly Norris, the Field and Community Engagement Coordinator for the Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation. The Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation was chartered by the AFL-CIO and is a coalition of unions from various public and private sectors across Western Connecticut. For municipal elections, Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation runs a robust political program in order to engage union members in the political process and work on behalf of endorsed candidates. Molly's here to tell us more about all the good work she does. I ask that you may put your microphones on mute so she can have the floor. Molly, when you're ready.
Wonderful. I will ask my fellow presenter, Ed Hawthorne, to introduce himself, as well as John and Anthony, while I get set up with the screen share.
John and Tony, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm still John McCarthy. I'm the president of the Danbury chapter. I'm pleased to be here with our friends from the ALF and with Anthony, our postal friend, who is one of our officers.
Anthony, you on?
Hello, I'm Anthony Gentile. So Andrea knows me from past work together. Currently the vice president of the Danbury Central Labor Chapter and working with John McCarthy.
Thank you, Anthony. Nice to.
So I'm Ed Hawthorne. I'm the president of the Area Labor Federation. So I want you to put up the slide and I can explain exactly what that is, who we are, and how we all fit into one together.
Absolutely.
So,
And I'm Molly Norris. I'm the Field and Community Engagement Coordinator for the Western ALF.
so who we are the, essentially, I describe us as old and new at the same time. So we're old in that our 4 central labor chapters here have been around for many, many, many years. And in 2017, what we decided to do was pool all our resources together, come together as one to hire a field and community engagement coordinator to better coordinate beyond districts. I remember, sitting in the firehouse in Waterbury, wondering what's going on in Danbury and having to call John and find out what's going on in Danbury. Now we have that monthly meeting where we all come together and kind of help each other out. Door knock together. If someone has an issue, we come to their rallies and stuff like that. For the Danbury Central Labor Chapter, you'll see it's there in orange. Those are the jurisdictions. The Danbury chapter, and we'll go over it a little bit more in detail in a few moments, but they are in charge of the endorsement. So we're just here to present. John, Anthony, Mary, Ozzy, and the rest of the crew in Danbury will be the ones doing the interviewing and the actual endorsement process. This is just to get you excited about coming to see them.
So this is an overview of our programming as an organization, but of course, what we're here to discuss is our political action. If you have questions or are curious about the other work that we do, I invite you to check out our website or get in touch with me, and I'd be happy to fill you in. So in terms of political action, we run a robust labor-to-labor voter outreach program. We make municipal election endorsements. We encourage trade unionists to run for office, and we connect candidates to labor issues. Labor-to-labor means that we deploy union members across public and private sectors to go speak to other union members about voter issues. They discuss candidates, they discuss election issues that concretely impact them as union members, as working people. It's really powerful to have a canvasser and a voter have that shared common ground. Ed can speak really well to this, having experienced.
I've done both, and it's always a lot more pleasant when it's a union to union door, because that barrier comes down immediately. We say, hey, I'm here from the union. I see, you belong to, let's say, for instance, like UFCW 371 or 919, you work at Stop and Shop. Here's how these issues relate to you. And you already know something about them and you have that shared common ground. So it's a lot more effective of a conversation, and they're less likely to tell me, please get off my porch, or just leave that there and move on with the rest of your day. So labor to labor is highly effective. I can definitely tell you that.
In 2019, we hosted 11 labor-to-labor walks across 5 towns. 58 union members knocked on 3,457 union household doors. We made 522 get out the vote calls and sent over 6,000 mailings. Nearly 67% of our endorsed union member candidates won their election.
Many of which are in this room now. We spent a lot of time in Danbury. Our sister Mary Consoli put up a heck of a fight. Actually, on election day, I started out by voting as soon as I could, and I ended the night in Danbury. And with that traffic coming back to Woolgate, I didn't get home until midnight, but it was well worth it. The fight, it continues, and we'd love for you all to have us back again and knock on doors. And a lot of the get out the vote calls were in Danbury as well. So
in 2020, of course, things looked a little bit different. In coordination with the Connecticut State AFL-CIO, they handled the statewide races. We participated in a safe and socially distanced labor-to-labor program. We pivoted to no contact literature drops, phone banks, rolled out text banking capabilities with which we were able to send over 35,000 texts. While of course we hope we will be back to in-person activities in fall of 2021, we are ready to keep people safe and pivot and adjust the program should that be necessary. And we're set up quite well to do so. So Danbury specifically, I just wanted to throw some statistics up on the screen here. Many of these you're probably familiar with. You've got over 39,000, almost 40,000 registered voters. Voter choice index is 59.1. Registered union density is 15.5%. And union favorability is 5.9, meaning that people generally feel good and positive toward their union, which means that they're seeing a friendly face when we open the door. Standard election turnout, 13,861. That puts the win number around 7,208. And the important number down here is the total union household members. We can see here, oops, I didn't update that from when we presented to Stratford, but in Danbury, total registered union members are 6,222. So that's getting you real close to your win number. In addition, there are 2,920 unregistered union or household members in the area, which we can potentially impact as well, get them to register to vote, get them set up. So we have a potential to make a solid impact in the Danbury area with our connection to labor and union members.
Hey, Molly, quick question for you. It's Joe DeSilva. That union reg, that's just AFL-CIO members, right?
I believe this is labor as a whole.
Okay.
I would have to do a little digging to find out. I didn't
worry
put
about
that
As far
data
as
together.
So there's 3 tiers to AFL-CIO in the state of Connecticut. There's your Eastern and Western area labor federations, as well as the state federation up in Hartford. The Western Area Labor Federation, we actually have buy-in from SEIU 1199, which does not associate with the state federation. So that would be included in our universe that we end up using, as well as it's probably not out here, but we have the Sikorsky Teamsters as well that don't associate with the state fed, but associate directly to us. It gets a little, not complicated, but a little odd. The 3 organizations that are AFL-CIO in the state of Connecticut all do different things. The area labor federations handle the municipal endorsements, and we're chartered directly from national, just like the state federation is. So it's, it's just the way it's set up. But we do have a larger list than potentially even the state fed would have due to 1199 as well as Teamsters. Teamsters, we saw Stratford there. That's why that's what's ringing the bell on the Teamsters. I mean, that's where Sikorsky is. So there's a huge amount there as well.
I know that
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I do know that Teamsters as well as 1199 SEIU, they're included in those statistics. So I've seen those on the list in terms of how many union members you've got in the area.
Yeah. We're pretty good in Connecticut about, even if they're not affiliated, to allow us access to the list so that, when they're out knocking or we're out knocking, we just don't knock the same door or pass by one. The neighbor is like 1199 and the other neighbor is AFT. We'll just have one person do both doors rather than, have me knocking on one door and, them knocking on the other. We work pretty well. We play well in the sandbox together, I always say.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
And I'll hand it back over to Ed to talk a little bit about our endorsement process.
So I touched on it before. The endorsement process is essentially, we will send out a questionnaire. The questionnaire is digital. I know there was some, if we need paper copies, we can get you paper copies too, but it is on a Google form that would then be sent back to us. The chapter would then conduct the interviews, have you in. It's non-confrontational. It's a process in which, even if you don't have the right answer, we're going to educate you on where our side was and try to, educate you a little bit and bring you over to that. Almost no one, except for I saw Julie on here, is probably perfect on every single issue, but not everyone's perfect on every issue. So don't be afraid if there's like one thing out there. It's really a conversation that we're having, and we use it as an educational tool as well as an endorsement tool as well. The chapter will then recommend endorsements to our COPE Committee on Political Education. And then, after that, the endorsement process would finalize from there. And then we, look at our resources and look at our targets and figure out how much we're going to do where. I'll tell you right now, we are targeting certain places. So far, we've done Stratford, East Haven, Torrington, Waterbury's on Wednesday, Ansonia and Derby are yet to be scheduled. But we're targeting places where we think we can make an impact due to high union density and favorability. And Danbury is one of those places. And also we have a history of coming into Danbury and doing some really good work. And another motive is to protect the Senate districts. And we all love Julie, obviously. And if we get people used to voting every single year, it's better if they vote in municipal, they're going to vote in the state year as well. So it's really getting our members out there and just used to, okay, in November I have to vote, and we're not going to take a year off, and we're not going to forget, and we're going to be out there, and it becomes routine.
I just have a quote here from Kimberly Glassman in East Haven on the town council there, just about her experience being endorsed by us. I simply could not have done this without the support and help of the Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation. The Western ALF is on the ground every municipal election, working for our brothers and sisters and ensuring that our interests are front and center. And that's the end of our presentation. So if you have questions for any of us, we'll have a few moments to answer those. And I put my contact information up here, and I'll be sure to share it in the chat and after the meeting. So if folks want to reach out, if there is a candidate who would probably be interested in filling out our questionnaire and seeking our endorsement, we'd love to have that information and be able to send that to them once it is ready.
And also, if there are any union members that want to get involved in the council, please let us know. We've actually had a bunch of people from other meetings actually start coming to the meetings in the other chapters. And I know, I think I speak for Danbury and John in saying that you're more than welcome to come to the meetings and get involved and organize locally in your backyard, as well as, in the workplace.
Molly, could you also put that information in our chat?
Absolutely.
So, it's available to everyone who's on the call right now. And I will say, having been a candidate 2 years ago in the municipal election, I did go through the interview process, and pretty, as you said, Ed, pretty painless and a very welcoming, supportive group. And we do have candidates that have already declared themselves. So I don't know, Molly, if you want to send me that information or put it in the chat for anyone who wants to potentially get an endorsement, then please do that, or send it to me and I can share it with people as they.
Our main questionnaire is finalized. We're going to be reaching out this week. So John, ears up, to get chapter specific questions or even town specific questions. So the main questionnaire is there, and we're at the finish line. We just need to cross it at this point with it. So we'll get that out very soon to you. I know I was talking to Roberto today. I know Danbury Democrats get started very early, and that's kind of what I love about y'all. You get started early, and you push till the end, and that's really admirable.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed. Really appreciate that.
Just a timing question. When will you guys, do you know when you'll be doing interviews and endorsements and stuff? I know 2 years ago, I think it was like, I don't know, I want to say September, because like Andrea, I came in for the interview and got the endorsement 2 years ago for a Board of Ed seat. Are we looking probably early fall? Is that the standard timing? Or
Yeah, we're just actually at a meeting today to sort of finalize some of those dates and talk about it. We'll be probably starting to distribute the questionnaire throughout June and July. Party endorsements are, of course, at the end of July, and so we'll begin interviews after the party endorsements are done, and be finalizing our endorsements in September. It's going to depend a little bit, municipality to municipality, on when we actually complete that.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for our presenters tonight? Any questions from anyone? And I would suggest you just unmute and jump right in.
Actually, I got one more for Molly. I don't know if we know this or if there's a way to figure it out. Do we know how many of those union members voted? Do we know what their voter history is? My guess is their union reg isn't in the van, and voter performance probably isn't on your spreadsheet.
I don't have that information handy. It kind of depends union to union how I'm able to access that on the land, but we do have the ability to kind of look up and see some of that detailed information if somebody's voted recently. And the way we cut our list to go door to door, we tend to, pay attention to that and if
Sure.
somebody's active, if they're registered, if they're an independent, if they're a Democrat.
Cool.
And we get some of that data when we bring those
Well,
lists up.
there is a way to find out, Joe, and that's you suck up to a certain registrar of voters, and Molly gets her their name and their city they live in, and then she can see if they voted.
Yeah. Except that they can't give us their list. We can give them data.
That's
Right. We can give you guys data, but you guys can't give us membership data.
Yeah.
We have our own labor action network. I've used both LAN and VAN. They're pretty similar and they're different at the same
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah,
I hope LAN is better.
it's not.
It's pretty useful, but in order to keep the list clean and the voters engaged, they keep it pretty well locked down. So I actually can't access the data until I specifically request it. So
Understood.
I'll tell
that's
you,
something that'll be happening over the summer.
if
But
we're
if you
not
do
on
talk
the
to
board,
somebody,
we
just,
follow
you
it
know.
up with a phone call and a letter. Even if they haven't voted, they're a lot more likely to vote now. And
For sure.
we all run campaigns. John's been at it for years. I mean, I run campaigns as campaign manager and, on kitchen cabinets and stuff like that. So we know what we're doing. We're not amateurs.
Oh, yeah.
at this, and we're, when we put our mind to something, we hit it hard. And we hit it pretty hard in Danbury last time. I'll tell you that much because we were out here.
We appreciated it too.
I know you-
Yeah, no.
I know you did. And so-
Oh, it's on that ballot. We appreciated it, believe me.
It's tough fighting out here. It really is. And I was talking to Roberto earlier, and I'm saying the warm blanket of Mark Boughton is gone now. And we have I think you all have a real opportunity to make this seat a Democrat seat, and that's the way it should be out here because I really do believe it. Deep down, it is a Democratic city. So this is the time. It really is.
Thank you. And thank you, Ed. Any other questions for our guest speakers?
No questions. I just want to say how good it is to see Ed and Molly. I know you guys do a great job, and we're fighting hard for labor in the legislature.
No charter school.
We're particularly fighting hard on the labor committee to get essential workers what we owe them.
Oh.
So we're going to keep that fight up and hopefully we'll be successful. So it's great to see you guys here.
Julie, you're the one person I don't have to worry about up there. Now that Russ retired, you're the only one left. You and Robin, probably two, right?
We do
So
it.
thank you
We
for all
fight
that
hard.
you do. And you're an example to all union members about, getting involved and really making a difference. So thank you.
No, thank you guys. It's my pleasure, my privilege.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Julie.
Yeah.
I also just want to say I dropped the sign up for our mailing list in the chat as well as my contact information. So if you're interested in a future meeting, you can sign up for our mailing list and stay up to date there.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to share it with our group when you have those meetings. So the chance of some of us attending will increase. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, although I understand and want to be respectful of your time. Please don't feel like you have to stay on, but we'll take this moment now to continue with the regular portion of our meeting. And thank you so much to our friends at Western Connecticut Area Labor Federation.
Thank you all.
Keep
Have
up the
a
work.
great meeting. Have a great night. I hope to see you all soon.
Yeah, see you
Thanks
soon.
for coming.
Sounds good.
Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
Yep, bye-bye. Okay, I don't believe there's any other members from the public who need to speak in this portion before we officially start the rest of our meeting. Okay. Excuse me, just 1 minute. Like I mentioned, Will Love has a conflict today, and I'm doing the housekeeping. So Joe, I don't know what's happening, why Representative Godfrey can't get in. Does he have the link?
I just re-emailed him the link. If you want to watch for him, I'll take over and take care of minutes and
Yes,
treasurers.
why don't you do that? And
Okay.
we'll waive the minutes tonight, as you
Right.
as you may recall. Okay.
Right. The minutes haven't been circulated. Is there an agreement on behalf of the membership to waive the reading of the minutes and postpone it till the June meeting?
Make a
Seeing no
motion to
oppos-
waive the meeting minutes.
This
Second.
motion made and seconded, made by Mr. Molinaro, seconded by Frank
Me.
Salvatore, whose hand I see waving at me. Joan, I can't see you at the moment. All those in favor of waiving the reading of the minutes of this meeting and moving it to June signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
seeing none, the motion carries. There's a treasurer's report. Treasurer's report, I believe, was circulated by John in advance of the meeting.
Right.
Everybody got it? Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read?
Motion to accept treasurer's report.
Motion was made by Mr. Molinaro, seconded by Mr. Santos. Is there any comment or question about the treasurer's report? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report as read and circulated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, seeing none, the motion carries.
Okay.
We're back to chairman's report. Andrea, you're back.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I still don't see the correct meeting. I would like him on.
I forwarded the link, so he should be on momentarily.
Okay.
Just keep your eye open, that's all.
So next on the agenda item is Black Lives Matter. There was a rally to fund education that was supported by our local NAACP chapter as well as Community for Change. Many of us attended that rally. It was great to see a lot of the friendly faces. I think also too that we'll hear later from City Councilman reporting in regard to the education budget and also Board of Ed member Joe Da Silva on what the status of the education funding is. Also, I want to take this time, as was on the agenda, to allow Molly Anderson to report back on her participation in a anti-racist forum. And, as we know, doing the work of anti-racism doesn't mean just checking off boxes now and again, but it really means doing some of the deep dive. And Walk in Their Shoes is a forum that was created in response to incidences around George Floyd. And it's led by the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut, and it's a framework to offer a pragmatic approach to navigating next steps in addressing equity and justice in our communities, in our country. It provides just enough context and just enough structure for participants to find their own rhythm in this important work. I know that because I was part of the first cohort, and Molly, as well as some other fine Democrats, are participating in the second cohort. So this is just a check-in for Molly to talk about her participation in that and report back to us of this important work. So Molly, I'll give you the floor.
Hello, everyone. I am going to find my document. Here it is. Nope. Here it is. Nope. Here it is. I don't think I've ever done a Zoom meeting by myself, or I'm the only one talking. So as Andrea said, Walk in Their Shoes is supported by the Western Connecticut Cultural Alliance. Lisa Scalise is the facilitator. And I mean, as we all know, this is a marathon. This kind of anti-racism work is a marathon, not a sprint. And is really something that we all need to really appreciate and work for the rest of our lives every day. And so I wanted to share, I mean, there's so many things I could share, but I wanted to share just a couple of ideas and a couple of quotes. Actually, we're reading the, we've done a lot of other things as well, but we're currently reading How to Be an Anti-Racist. I'm not sure if anyone else has read that, but I highly recommend it. It's a great book. I also will afterwards include some recommended reading and people to follow on Instagram and Facebook or whatever social media platform you're on, or just Googling them. Because I have really, the point of Walk in Their Shoes is really to be honest and open. And so it's kind of a confidential thing in that, it's a safe space for you to really address your own biases and your own prejudice, and which has been really eye-opening and really wonderful. But it's also, the point is ultimately that you come up with at least three actionable items that you're going to really do in order to keep your work going and influence people and influence the folks around you and keep the conversation going. As we know, the George Floyd murder was a huge awakening, I think. But I have spoken to a number of Black and people, Black and brown people who are nervous that we're going to stop, and that Derek Chauvin was found guilty, and so and this work is tiring and it's exhausting. And so I just encourage everyone to continue whatever work you're doing, whether personally, professionally, privately, in order to keep the movement going, because we really have a lot of work to do, and it is overwhelming at times, but it's just been wonderful to have that kind of connection. And so I wanted to share just a couple of anecdotes, as well as a couple of quotes that really have spoken to me personally. So the first one is, so first of all, there is one person in my cohort currently who said that after the Rodney King was beaten in 1991. And there was one person in my cohort who, we talked a lot about that this last week, who said at the time, they said to themselves, this has to be the time. This has to be the time that we change, that we grow, that something happens. And yet here we are 30 years later, and we just had the George Floyd, we just had Dante Wright, we just had so many people, and so many things are continuing to happen. And so something that I really just takeaways for me and aha moments for me are the fact that the idea perpetuated that Black folks are stronger, more dangerous, more menacing, less trusting. And one example of that is that in a lot of stores, in the makeup aisle, for those of you who don't know what foundation is makeup that women put on their faces, the foundation of which, so then they put other stuff on top of it. And so, I've seen examples and shared examples of going into stores where the lighter shaded foundations are freely accessible, and the darker shaded foundations are locked, so that if you want one of those colors, you have to go find a person who works in the store to unlock said shade of color. So just kind of perpetuating that, oh, of course, because, people of color are more likely to steal or whatever. And these kind of ideas just perpetuating. And I also will say I'm 32. And so when O.J. Simpson was tried in 1995, I was 6, so I didn't really know what was going on. But, I've researched and feel like I learned about the O.J. Simpson trial, and I never fully understood why the verdict was celebrated so much by Black folks. And so I just wanted to share a quote that really kind of blew my mind. So they're basically talking about that Ibram is talking about how he was in 8th grade and all of his classmates rose and were hugging each other and in tears, and how his white 8th grade teacher was also in tears, but for the reason that he was acquitted. And so he says of that, I had been listening to what Black adults around me had been lecturing me about for months in 1995. They did not think OJ was innocent of murder any more than they thought he was innocent of selling out his people. But they knew the criminal justice system was guilty too. Guilty for freeing the white cops who beat Rodney King in 1991 and the Korean storekeeper who killed Latasha Harlins that same year after falsely accusing her of stealing orange juice. And then he lists a bunch of other examples. It did not matter if Black people breathed first in the United States or abroad. In the end, racist violence did not differentiate. So that was a big aha for me. And then another, he talks so much about how individuals within the Black community are supposed to be these pillars of the community. You have to be extraordinary, and you're expected to be extraordinary, because if you're not, then you are making Black folks look bad. Whereas white students screw up also, and we don't then think that white folks are worse in school or whatnot. So the last quote that I will share is right here. Indeed, I was irresponsible in high school. I screwed up. I could have studied harder, but some of my white friends could have studied harder too. And their failures and irresponsibility didn't somehow tarnish their race. Asking every non-athletic Black person to become an Olympic hurdler and blaming them when they can't keep up is racist. So, and making individuals responsible for the perceived behavior of racial groups and making whole racial groups responsible for the behavior of individuals are the two ways that behavioral racism infects our perception of the world. And so that's sort of where I'm at right now. I have a huge long list of books that I want to read, and I will share those. I can share those after the meeting, and I can share them in the chat. But one of my action items that I'm going to be working towards is I have a 2-year-old, and so being an anti-racist parent and raising an anti-racist child. And so there are so many resources out there for that. And just so many other resources that I think really are so educational. And, it's not the work of Black, Indigenous, and people of color to do that work for us. So we should be going out and finding it ourselves. So I will, put in the chat these recommendations, and I can, if anybody has any other questions or wonders how to find people on this social media other than just here, and I'm happy to do that. But we still have a ways to go we still have a few sessions left, but every session has really been eye-opening. It's multi-generational and full of folks who have really had so many different experiences, and to have a place where you can be truthful and honest and look into yourself to really examine and admit to your prejudices and biases is wonderful. So I highly recommend anyone who wants to join in the next cohort. I think they're recruiting for fall of 2021 right now.
Thank you, Molly. Yeah, I did put that in the chat. The link to learn more about Walk in Their Shoes. It's just above where Frank posted that he's started his campaign and has linked his contribution page. So if you page above that, you will see the link. The fall registration is now open. I will say that my experience in the first cohort was very eye-opening, and this is a work in progress as well for the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut, in that they're continually getting feedback from the participants. My 3 actionable items that I committed to, the first was to make Black Lives Matter a part of our Danbury Democratic Town Committee agenda so that we can keep it front and center. The second actionable item was a letter to the editor that I sent to Hearst Media, which was published in October of last year. And then my third actionable item, sort of along the lines of what Molly's trying to do, is to continue to have conversations with more conservative members of my family about where there is equity and social injustice in this country of ours. So if anyone has a question for Molly, I'll let her take those questions. If not, we have a lot in the chat. So any questions for Molly? Okay, thank you, Molly. It's a lot of information to share, and I know the process is challenging. So thank you for sticking with that, and maybe we can hear back again how it all sort of wraps up. Thank you so much. Okay, next on the chairman's report is our upcoming fundraiser. Invitations have been in the mail. Joan Belizna is busy getting ad works and commitments for ads. So please, if you haven't, there's online links on our website, danburydemocrats.com, to purchase tickets, to purchase ads. Thank you, Henry Hall, for putting that all on our website. Again, Wednesday, May 26th, please calendar the event. Please make plans to be there. Any questions about our upcoming fundraiser?
Just a comment, please get me your ads, because there's a lot of you who said, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. No guts.
Okay, well, we will definitely be able to find a way to get those.
I'll be contacting some people. You've been
Andre, that's 6 p.m. on the 26th?
6:30 is the start. We have 2 options. So if you're talking to people and it's about comfort levels. The no restrictions on outdoor gatherings is lifted on the 19th of May. Our event's a week later. And so, but some people may not be comfortable. So we also have a pickup option for dinner. So you can pick up dinner between 5:30 and 6, and then the official, it starts at 6:30. We're putting together a program that honors essential workers and social activists. Quite honestly, that's after it was a lot of legislative done stuff on the state level, and the congressional level has just made a lot of our elected officials very unavailable. So we decide to recognize people who have been working through the pandemic. So that will be part of the program. Any other questions, Joe? Do you have any other questions or?
No, just folks, get me your ads. I think it would be nice if everybody on the town committee either took an ad or at least did a listing. They haven't, but a lot of people have. Andrea, you owe me a bunch of ads, but we'll talk. Yeah, Joe De Silva, I know your mother has told me.
I know.
So
I'm doing the ad. I'll send you the ad copy.
I figured, yeah, I know. I know how to find you. Better yet, I know how to call your mother. So I don't have a problem with that. But for those of you that are doing ads, let me know. Some of you did ads last year. I haven't heard back from you. I will be calling them. It would, like I said, it would be nice if everybody, even did a listing. If you're a justice of the peace, hey, gotta take an ad. Gotta spend money to make money. So,
Yeah.
But so I'm just waiting on things.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you. Any other
You're welcome.
questions? Okay, so we will, and seeing none, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is our mayoral candidate updates. We have one mayoral candidate present, which is Roberto Alves. Roberto, we didn't talk ahead of this meeting, so I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I'm good. Listen.
Okay.
We're all in politics there. Don't give us the opportunities to speak because we'll take it. I'll be respectful of everybody's time, and really this will just be an update. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, everybody here has my personal cell phone number, email. Anybody watching on YouTube, if you have any questions about our campaign and you want to ask, just go to our website, alvesfordanbury.com. Contact information is there. It's a really nice, easy way to get a hold of us. We're excited, continuing to do our door program. Everything is really ramping up, but I just got a couple points I wanted to talk to everybody here tonight. We have an intern program that's up and running. We have a small group now. They're dedicated, they're working hard, and we just want to expand, right? Energy and bodies is what's going to help bringing in new people to the fold that we don't see year in, year out, expands our workforce, helps build a bench, helps build, more volunteers for every election. Every year I say this, and every year I feel it rings true. I mean it. This is the most important election that I've been involved in. So if you know anybody who's interested, wants to do volunteer work, or college students home for summer, somebody just graduated, intern, send them our way. We'll find a place for them, and we want to help them grow. A lot of people are looking at this as career moves and then work for consultants or other firms, and we're placing people in what it is they want to learn, what it is they want to do. So I'd love to ramp up the field that way. Now, the output of that, the program is really ramping up. We're going to make our plans now to start doing the phones, lid drops, turning to door knocking, getting events planned, things in the book. You can't see it, but to my right, I have my big Danbury City map laid out. And a month ago, it was just this, black and white. Wards are color coded. But now when I look at it, I just see a sea of highlighted yellow, because we have been everywhere. We've been in every ward. We have been in places that are easy to walk, places that are, not so easy to walk, just trudging up like Danbury's hillsides and mountains, and excited to be out there talking to people. So if you're looking to get involved and you want to help knock doors, reach out to me. We have one big event coming up this Saturday. So if you want to come out, we have a flyer going out online. We sent an email today on May 15th at 10 o'clock for meeting at City Hall. And we're going to do a big day of action, get everybody together. You'll hear from me. You'll hear from some of our other elected officials. We'll be out there energizing and getting our message out. And I don't want to jump on what we're going to talk about a little bit later when we do the updates on, from our elected offices now. But we all just saw what happened with the budget. The Democratic caucus stuck together again in another budget season to say no to not funding our educational system. And this isn't just because I have kids in the schools. We're out there talking. This is a known issue in town. People are fed up that the city doesn't do their part in funding our educational program. We're putting out solutions. We're just getting nothing back from the other side. So that's a big part of what we're doing, a big part of our messaging. So please, if you're passionate about schools, you're passionate about moving this city forward. Danbury's at a crossroads. Come help us out. We'll be there May 15th at 10 o'clock, City Hall parking lot. If you've never done anything like this before, we'll have folks sitting there teaching, walking you through, making you comfort. Come meet me. Come ask questions for those watching on YouTube. But again, and now for our town committee here, I just want to thank everybody here who's been a part of it. A lot of you have, given time, energy, money. We're could always use more, so please feel free to donate. Give until it hurts, right? It's the line we always hear. But a lot of you have been helping me out with, and just not put anybody in the spot either. It's with messaging, reviewing what we're saying, giving us, better ways to say certain things. I just want to leverage everybody's skill here and create the most efficient campaign, well run. And it's a team. It's not going to be just me and 2-3 people. It's going to take all of us to make this happen. And I am so grateful for all of you who have not only been, colleagues in this fight, but friends of mine. And I appreciate you all so much. So thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. If you wanted to, if you could put that day of action in the chat.
Of course.
You are taking, I think, inviting people to attend.
Absolutely. I'll get a link up there shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, the donation link is already there. I'll work on the other one.
And it's and there's also part of the agenda. It is listed as a important date on the agenda. So if you need a reference, it's also on there.
Thank you. And again, everybody's welcome. I encourage you guys to come out, see the energy. We had a lot of people out. Our first one we did in April. Politically and strategically, I did keep it quiet, but those who are there can talk about it. It was just a great thing to see. And we're going to do that again, plus more this time. So come out, be a part of the team, see the energy, get out there, talk to voters for us. If you're planning on running for office, come start hitting the doors. I mean, we're excited. Let's go.
I also want to encourage people, if you have anyone in your life, especially as Roberto was referencing, younger adults, teenagers who are interested in the political process, this is really a great event to do that. There's a lot of camaraderie. Then there's also different opportunities, simply literature dropping or door knocking. Potentially there's some training involved. And I think it really gives people a sneak peek into a window of what it means. And it's either going to energize people who think they might want to do something, or it's going to tell them rather quickly it's not for them. But I have found a lot of people do get energized under these during these types of events.
Andrea, if I may.
You may.
Yes. Roberto is much nicer than I am. We need you. We need you to show up Saturday. We need you to show up a lot. This is why we're here. Our job is to try to get Democrats elected. So please come Saturday. This is what we do. This is why we're here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any questions for Roberto before I move on to our task force for building up the under ticket? Okay. Councilman Frank Salvatore, can you please report out on the 2021 Campaign Victory Task Force?
So the task force has been meeting. Last month was kind of a tough meeting. We're supposed to meet this week as well, but there's a ad hoc committee that I want to be in on. So we might start up a little late. So far, we have 3, 6, 8 people who have sent in applications, questionnaires, actually 7 because one sent it twice. And what we're doing is we're just trying to get it out there that, anybody who wants to run, fill out this questionnaire. It gets them into the process. I'm going to start contacting the people this week just to let them know we did get their application, which they already got an automated email back. But we're going to, probably start the interview process towards the middle of this month. And we really would like to have all the positions filled come end of June. We'd like it to be done, before the July, 20th, 21st, 20th nominating meeting. So we're moving along. If you have anybody who you think is interested, have them go to the Danbury Democrats page. The link is on the front page. For those of you in the wards, hopefully you're working on finding your candidates. because this task force is not tasked with the looking for candidates in the wards. The bylaws do dictate that we, the ward people, do find our candidates. So, if we find somebody who might be a good fit and we have a glut of people, we can pass them on to you. But at this point, we should be looking around and trying to fill not only our part of the under ticket, but the ward under ticket as well. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Salvatore. Any questions for Frank regarding this process? So while Frank mentioned that there's 7 people who have filled out applications, it's not, that doesn't include also our incumbents who are running again. So it's 8 plus our incumbents, if anyone is wondering about that. Okay, I don't see any questions or hands up. Okay, so our next item on the agenda, state and local official reports. Jean Eriquez, do you have anything to report from State Central?
I do quickly, Madam Chair. Thank you. First, Frank, I received a notification today from a gentleman who's well known by Roberto and Farley. I will forward that information to you. He happens to reside in the first ward and is interested in the city council. Did not indicate whether it be ward or at large. So I'll forward that information to you and get him the information so that he can complete it as well in accordance with the task force guidelines.
Thanks, G.
Yeah, the Democratic State Party is regularly conducting van training. I know one of Joe DeSilva's favorite topics. There will be a van training best practices session at 10:30 on Saturday morning, the 15th of May, this coming Saturday. In addition, on Wednesday, Madam Chair, State Party Chair Nancy DiNardo will be reaching out and connecting with all town committee chairs at 6:30 on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, the State Party is launching its Asian American Pacific Islander caucus. And as a result, there will be our State Party Chair Nancy DiNardo, New York Congresswoman from the 6th Congressional District in New York, Grace Meng, and Attorney General William Tong will be part of the launch of the AAPI caucus. And people who are interested may register on the State Party website for that. Okay. Anyone has any questions, be glad to answer them. But in addition, I have forwarded our important dates to be included in Danbury on the State Party calendar of events. And Madam Chair, I just want to make mention that I think we skipped over the clam bake, so I don't know if there was any information to be able to present regarding that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I did reach out to John, and the clam bake fundraiser will be Sunday, August 29th at Hatters Park.
Great. And lastly, I would just like to thank the delegation, which did a very presented a wonderful citation from the state of Connecticut in recognition of my mother's 100th birthday. So thank you to Julie and David and Ken, in particular Bob Godfrey, who processed the whole thing and added some personal touches to it. It was greatly appreciated and appreciated by our family members yesterday. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jean. Any questions regarding State Central matters from His Honor Jean Eriquez? Okay, no questions. Okay, so moving on to the Hartford delegation. Bob Godfrey, do you want to lead us off?
Hi, everybody, and happy Monday. It's getting busy. We're now in the last month of our regular annual session. There's still much to be done, but we're already starting to clear some of the issues, large and small. The House was in session 2 days last week. We'll be in 3 days this week. I think the highlight of last week was the second passage of a resolution to amend the Constitution to provide for early voting. If you may recall, 2 years ago, we successfully passed that in the House when it got to by the supermajority that it would have needed to get on last year's ballot. But the Republican Party in the Senate didn't provide the supermajority numbers. So it carried over past the House with about 120 odd votes. We'll see what happens in the Senate. It only needs a majority. This time I expect it to pass. It'll be on the ballot in next year in 2022. There is another constitutional amendment coming up dealing with no excuse absentee voting. The Republican Party is adamantly opposed to that because they don't want people to vote. So I expect that will pass this year, again, with only a majority, not a supermajority. So the Republicans will be successful in putting this off for 3 years instead of 1. Makes me a little bit angry. The debate last week on the early voting resolution was noticeable, was remarkable for the vituperative attacks on voting by a very tiny sliver of the Republican caucus. Republican caucus in general is at war with itself between those who have the so-called Eastern establishment or the Wall Street Republican types and the Trumpies. So sadly, we're seeing that going on here in Connecticut. It's very difficult. So that passed successfully. Some of the other things we did, the House passed a bill that will allow adoptees access to their original birth certificates. That goes to the Senate. We did a bill dealing with to empower DEP to deal with invasive species. That's a big problem on Lake Candlewood. I think I'm the only rep from Danbury whose district doesn't touch on Lake Candlewood, but I certainly am supportive and sympathetic. I've seen all that green stuff growing. It's kind of icky, but it's also really bad for the lake. You may recall that at the beginning of the pandemic, Governor Lamont, through his executive powers, started to loosen the controls and rules regarding telehealth. I've gone through this myself, actually meeting with my doctor over the phone. It was with a picture phone. It was kind of strange, not anything I'm used to, but I think it's an important step, not merely for the pandemic, but in general, to move that forward. As you may recall, insurance companies didn't want to pay for telehealth consultations. They now have to. We took the governor's executive order and we made it statutory for at least 2 more years. We dealt with breastfeeding in the workplace. I can't believe that in 2021, we're still arguing for women to be able to nurse their children. It's kind of strange. We, at the request of Commissioner Tom Santi, the Department of Veterans Affairs, we have now done, we will now permit LGBTQ veterans who were less than honorably discharged because of their sexual orientation to become eligible for veterans benefits. It's a big step, I think, in the right direction. We dealt with college food insecurity. Again, I can't believe in 2021 here in America, we're arguing about making sure people get enough to eat. That's really, it's beyond my knowledge to actually understand why that's going on. And I'm happy to report cheap booze as Representative Michael D'Agostino said in his opening remarks, passed. You may recall that a couple of years ago, we consolidated and revised the fee schedule for bars and restaurants and nightclubs, that kind of thing, and inadvertently caught up things like veterans clubs like the CWV or the VFW or the DAV and other nonprofit type organizations who all of a sudden went from paying like $300 a year for their license to thousands of dollars for license. We corrected that. Certainly my colleagues at the Catholic War Veterans are very happy to hear about that. I know our friends at the VFW have been in contact with us and have certainly rejoiced over the changes that we made. We're wrestling this week with the crisis in nursing homes, as you may have heard. The people who work there are saying that it will go on strike if the money that has long been overdue, in my humble opinion, for their raises, for their support, doesn't happen. We'll see during the course of the week what happens to that. I will, of course, support the unionized and non-unionized workers in the nursing home. They do a tremendous job of taking care of the sick and the elderly. So it's been quite a schedule, and it will be busy again this week. We still don't have a budget. We still don't have a deal, a negotiated arrangement regarding non-medical marijuana. Those are a couple of the other big things on our list of things to do this year. I was happy that not only did Susan Beisowitz, but also our state treasurer Sean Wooden came to Danbury to visit both the mass vaccination site at the mall. Susan was there, actually got her second shot about the same time Dave Arcani got his first. And Sean Wooden came down visiting with the mobile unit that on that particular day was set up at the Danbury Railroad Station. I'm really happy Connecticut is the first state to get more than half of its residents vaccinated. We need to do a lot more work on trying to reach herd immunity. That's going to be a struggle getting the last few people in. I'm happy to see that in another few days we'll be able to start inoculating those 12 to 16-year-olds who with the Pfizer vaccine, which has been adjudicated as being safe for them, again, moving to a herd immunity. I'm hoping, optimistic that schools will be able to reopen in person in the fall. And we continue to fight the good fight on that. There were a couple of really good environmental bills, but I'll leave energy bills. I'll leave them obviously to our chairman, Dave Arcani, but that's what's going on. And, you know, it's hurry up and wait. We're in the last few weeks of session. The calendar of list of bills to be acted upon is about 50 pages long. So we're going to be going at it hammer and tongs starting last week. So that's my report, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Godfrey. We also have David Arcani on it. David, again, like via Roberto, I'm putting you on the spot because we didn't talk ahead of time, but I don't know if you have anything to add, or maybe David's not on anymore. Let's see. Okay, let's jump to our Senator Julie Kushner.
Thank you, Andrea. Bob covered a lot of it. The Senate has also been in session and passing a number of bills. We have had some late nights, and we have priority bills. One of our priority bills is Senate Bill 2, which just passed through the Senate last week. It was debated for many, many hours And the thing that became so clear to me in that debate is some of this partisanship has led people to take some very, very harmful positions. And the Republican debate on Senate Bill 2 is a bill about children, and particularly related to how do we help children to recover from COVID and the impacts of, social and emotional behavioral issues from being out of school for many of them for a year. All the impacts that we identify in terms of social and emotional and behavioral health. And the Republicans chose to debate this bill one after the next, objecting to a provision which would allow children, right now children are allowed to be treated for mental health up to 6 treatments in a year without parental approval. And this bill would expand that to unlimited number of treatments. And it went on to actually clarify that parental notification would be based on an assessment from the mental health professional. So it actually clarifies that parents who, when the child requests that their parents not be notified, there would actually be a procedure for the professional to do an analysis and decide whether it would be harmful to the child to notify the parent. And so I think it actually makes our current statute a little better in terms of parental notification. But the Republicans chose to attack this bill one after the next, saying parents know what's best for their child. And this is just, you can't do this. You can't have unlimited treatment without parents being advised. And I found myself really disturbed by the debate, and one of the things that happens is that we don't really engage in debate. The person who brings out the bill will defend the bill, but to engage in the debate just prolongs, what is a filibuster basically by the Republicans against, and we have the votes. So we don't usually do it, but it was very disturbing. And one of our senators, Senator Casano, asked to speak at the end before we voted. And I was so proud of him and of our party and of our caucus, because when he spoke from the heart without a single note and just explained that we often forget who we are and what we've done before we got to the Senate chamber. But he had been a social worker. He taught social work in college level, and but he'd also, for a period of only 14 months, but at a younger age, he had been assigned to a home or to a place where young boys were sent when they were juvenile delinquents, is what they used to call it, or had misbehaved or had problems. And he spoke about that experience and how the things he witnessed that parents had done to their kids. And he described them in detail. And it was hard to hear, a parent who had burned his child. But I thought, how important is it that he is standing up and saying these things, that we cannot just give in to this partisanship, and we have to protect children even when we're protecting them from their own parents. And he spoke so beautifully. I was so proud of him that night. It brought tears to my eyes. And that's kind of what we're up against. Some of this doesn't even make any sense, what we're debating, but it's so important what we're doing. And so it's been very intense. I think we're passing some really good bills that are going to take care of people. And I'm very happy to represent our district in that regard. The big, there are a ton of labor bills, and as chair of the labor committee, it's my responsibility to try and shepherd them through the Senate. When my counterpart is doing that, Robin Porter, quite well in the House. And we have a big agenda, and partly it's because we didn't have bills come out last year. And so we have sort of a buildup of bills from last year that we had expected to do. But we also have very limited time, as Bob explained. And so it's incredibly intense right now. And some of these labor bills, I would say particularly the ones that we've grouped together in what's called, it's Senate Bill 1002. Its companion bill is House Bill 6595. We tried to create omnibus bills that would address the impact of COVID on workers, and particularly on essential workers. And that has become a very heavy lift because it has a lot of elements to it. But we're basically saying that some of this ARPA money that the state has received, we're receiving, what is it, $1.6 billion of ARPA money. And what we're saying is we want a big part of that money to go to essential workers, to people who went out and fed us, worked in the grocery stores, took care of us in nursing homes, took care of us in hospitals, worked at gas stations, worked in fast food places, but basically anybody who had to go to work when we could stay at home. And when the federal government passed the American Rescue Plan Act, which is ARPA, ARPA, when they passed that bill, they specifically said that this was to address, some of the money is earmarked, but a lot of the money was to address essential workers. And I feel like we've come up with two ways in which we think are top priorities for doing that. One, we think that any worker who is out at work away from their home who got COVID should not have to prove where they got COVID. Honestly, I don't care if they got it at work or if they got it at the gas station on the way to work. It doesn't matter. They went to work when we stayed home safe. And I believe we should be compensating them for their medical bills. We should be covering their lost time from work. And, unfortunately, if they died, we should be paying, in addition to the federal $9,000, we should be paying enough to cover the burial costs. So that's one tranche of money we're trying to get from the American Rescue Plan. The other is to say that every essential worker should be getting what we're calling pandemic pay or hazard pay. But essentially, the ARPA money was very specifically designated to help compensate workers who went to work. It even said that you couldn't compensate them at more than $13 an hour additional pay. Unfortunately, the governor came out with his version of ARPA, and his version of ARPA reimbursed, it had pandemic pay in it for public sector workers that had to leave their home at $1,000 for the year. That comes out to 48 cents an hour. And it had for nursing home workers, $500. I've just been informed today that the state of Louisiana paid pandemic pay at $4 an hour. So we're trailing them significantly, and we're not covering all the workers. It's a lot of money. If we pay even $2,000, which is $1 an hour, $2,080 for the year, would cost the state of Connecticut, we estimate, over $500 million. But, keep in mind, we're getting $1.6 billion. So, this is like a real debate. And I have to say, it's a debate not just between us and the governor, although I wish it was just a debate between the legislature and the governor, but there's a lot of demands in the negotiations for the budget, and a lot of it's coming down to using the ARPA money to fill budget holes and to take care of other important things. They're all important things. But it's very, very difficult right now. And I'm in the position as labor chair where the priority for me is making sure that we're taking care of these workers. So it's not clear when we'll have a final budget. The budget without the American Rescue Plan money, that budget has already passed the House and the Senate through the Appropriations Committee. What I mean is the Appropriations Committee has already passed a budget to our leadership then to negotiate with the governor. The ARPA funding, we did not include in that. That is a separate negotiations that has already begun with the governor making his proposal, and now the legislature has to have a counter and has to engage in those negotiations. So there's a lot that's going to happen. I'm hopeful that we can get the budget done before the end of session and that we won't have to go into special session. But this is only my second time being there. And I know Bob and David have been there for a long, long time and would tell you that there have been times when we haven't reached a budget by the end of session and then you go into special session. So we'll see what happens this year, but it's a lot, but it's you feel like you're doing good work up there, Bob. I'm sure you'd agree with me. And I don't know if Ken is on here, but you feel like you're doing the right thing by being up there and standing up for workers, standing up for kids, standing up for people in need. So it's very worthwhile.
Thank you, Senator. Okay, so anything else outside of that happening in the Senate? I mean, that's a lot. I'm not trying to say that it's not, but anything else that to share?
Well, just to let you know, I mean, this week we're going in for 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we will overlap for the first time with the House. And so part of the problem this session, even though I think I may have said this on a previous call, it's hard to imagine why this is harder this year because of COVID. But a big part of that is that we have not been in the building at the same time. So that limits the number of days that we can be in session. We're getting toward the end. People have been largely vaccinated, amongst the legislators, and the COVID positive rates have gone down. So I think this week we're going to be the first time we're going to be in at the same time as the House, overlapping on, I believe, Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, there's a ton going on. Lots of important bills, too many to go into, but if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to go over any of the bills with folks that we voted on already or that we will be voting on.
Thank you, Julie. I will say to anyone and anyone watching that, we're so fortunate with our Hartford delegation. Everyone is very accessible and very responsive. So if you do have any other questions or need more information, just reach out directly to our representatives. And Vice Chair, it seems like you want to say something?
No, other than, actually, you know what? Yes. Thank you to our delegation for supporting the elimination of the ridiculous religious exemption for vaccines. Thank you all very much. I know that was a tough vote. It was not a tough vote. It was a long vote to listen to. But thank you both. And Bob, especially, thank you for voting against the ridiculous grandfather clause.
One tries.
Thank you.
One doesn't always succeed, but one tries to do the right thing. And let me just, I don't want to blow smoke or anything, but it's so much better having Julie than Mike McLaughlin upstairs, and we can get stuff done for Danbury as well as for the state of Connecticut and the working families that the Democratic Party has always represented. So thank you. You just heard about how her compassion in describing her own experiences. And I couldn't have phrased it any better. So thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to local officials. I think we'll do zoning, Board of Ed, and then City Council. There's some media issues out there, so I do want to be mindful. It's almost 9 o'clock, but this is important information for our membership to hear. So our Commissioner Haddad is here from the Zoning Commission. Ted, any updates on what you're doing there with Sydney and Ryan and the rest?
Thank you to Julie and Bob. Appreciate everything. As you know, zoning meets on the second and fourth Tuesday. It'd be good to see some of you there if you'd like to see what's going on, either through Zoom, and the Zoom link is on our website and the town clerk's office and on YouTube. We're picking up some steam a little bit. This May, we got a full meetings for both of them. Tomorrow we have 3 petitions. 2 of them are from the same owner, looking to amend 2 different sections. One is of the master plan for their own parcel, which is the old Matrix building, SC Ridge, and they want to also amend regulations, and they want to juggle some things around as it relates to being influenced by the school taking up some space in there. I think if approved, it'll allow for another 200,000 square foot, 220,000 square foot user. So we're going to have a new company headquarters, hopefully coming to Danbury soon, in a 220,000 square foot building. Additionally, we may have a new brewery in Danbury. They're coming in tomorrow. A little brewery and looking to amend the zoning regulation on that. That's what we have for tomorrow. Coming up on the 25th, that's full meeting as well. I talked a couple weeks ago, the physical medical facility and patient use, they're coming to do their final approval for 100,000 square foot brand new physical medical building. A little small daycare center is looking for an approval in Danbury. And the D&B Wellness, which is the medical marijuana dispensary, is looking for a drive-through window on Mill Plain Road. Other than that, we have some more things coming down the pike in June, but that's what we have most immediate.
Okay, any questions for zoning or anything, any other zoning commissioner wants to weigh in? I will mention that anyone who's interested in zoning commission matters, the department staff at the city, at City Hall will add you to an email distribution list that keeps you updated on planning commission meetings as well as the zoning commission details. So you just need to do that by reaching out to Joanne Reed of the planning department if you want to be added to the correspondence that goes out notifying people of zoning commission agendas as well as planning commission.
If I could, one more thing, which I think everybody here would want to know about, is our people, our young Democrats on the zoning commission are really contributing well. I'm so happy. They're getting a grasp of it. It takes a little time, but boy, I'll tell you, they're just terrific. Mr. Kelly is not running. And to quote him, he says, I'm going to step out, let somebody take my place. He's been a good contributor for a good number of years as well. But our young people are really terrific. So if you get a chance to tune into one of our meetings, you'll be proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ted. On to the Board of Education matters. So this will be our vice chair reporting out. Kay Canetta had a conflict this evening, as well as Joe Britton. So
thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep this very short. First, I don't know anything about the proposal, but Ted, I'm all in favor of all the breweries you can get into Danbury. So go crazy with that. I'm only kidding. All right, Board of Ed. Obviously, everybody's aware the city just voted in the budget. It's less than the board needs. It's less than we need for our kids. Clearly, we all know that. I won't belabor that point any longer. We don't have the details on exactly what the ramifications of all of this is and will be. There's more work to do on the board. Hopefully we'll have a more detailed report in June. Our finance director is amazing. She does a fantastic job. This will require lots of creativity on her part. And there's also moving parts with ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds. So until we know exactly how all of those are going to shake out, we're not going to have a lot of answers other than, once again, the Republican administration of Danbury let down the kids of Danbury. Separate and apart from that, the other big issue, obviously, is return to school in the fall. The plan is to be in school 5 days a week, all kids. There is not going to be, at least as of right now, a distance learning option. The state of Connecticut is not requiring us to offer that, and it is my understanding the district is not intending to offer that. The district is likely to be renting the old St. Joseph School in Brookfield to allow us to create some extra space in a couple of our schools so we can space out better. Some of those issues are related, frankly, more to the size of cafeterias and how many kids you can feed at one time with a little bit of distancing than anything else. That's certainly one of the issues with our overcrowding, especially if you look at, for example, our high school and our middle schools. We add on And when you add on to a building, you add classrooms and you add labs and bathrooms in those new additions and all that. The one thing you don't do is you don't make the existing hallways any bigger, or the cafeteria any bigger, or the library any bigger. Although with the internet now, maybe that's not as important as it used to be. But those things stay the same. So those are, obviously trying to deal with capacity in those spaces is obviously an issue. Last but not least, we're in the process of moving forward with hiring a new superintendent. Dr. Sal, after 15 pretty successful years overall, I would say, is preparing to retire on July 1st. He's earned it. The board voted on hiring a search company a couple of weeks ago. And I anticipate we'll be meeting with them again in the near future, and that process will continue forward. There will be opportunities for community input for sure on that. So I will obviously try to, keep everybody updated at the next meeting if we have more info. Madam Chair, that's all I have unless people have questions. If you have them, feel free to email me. I'm happy to call you or give you a call.
Okay, any questions for Board of Ed Vice Chairman in his capacity as Board of Ed member? Also, I will say that the Board of Education does archive all of its meetings, its Zoom meetings. So if you want to see and catch up to date what's been happening, those are readily available on the Board of Education website.
They're fascinating. I recommend it.
Yes, I would agree with that. Thanks, Joe. Now for City Council, we have City Council members. We have Dwayne Perkins here. We have Rich Molinaro, Farley Santos, Frank Salvatore, and Roberto Alves. I'll just throw it out there. Rich, would you like to start? If I could ask you to start any report back. I know there was a very lengthy City Council meeting that was initially to be on Tuesday that went to Thursday.
Yes.
I was quite honestly very proud of our Democrats for voting 10, for presenting a very, I think a reasonable alternative to bridging the gap in our education funding, but having to vote along party lines to get it done, only to have it fail.
Very proud of our caucus, but I will turn it over to Dwayne. He was the one who started it. Proposed the amendment and eloquently proposed an amendment that was, like you said, eventually shot down. But I turn the floor over to Dwayne.
Okay, sure. Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Richard. Madam Chair, members of the committee. We tried hard. And we pointed out a couple of, at least in our opinion, clear, cogent arguments to try to get the majority party to see and go along with our plan. But again, unfortunately, it didn't work. Right from the start, we brought up some opportunities that were capitalized on and also missed. I mean, we mentioned things like the infamous 13 acres of land on the west side that was eventually sold off, and now they're talking about using it to build residential property. Some things that we mentioned as well were, the West Side Middle School, the Career Academy. We talked about, and I just heard the vice chair for the school board mention using Slack resources from other municipalities as classroom space. That's something that we talked about and tossed around when the council used to go out after city council meetings. So you know how long ago that was. And some things that went well were a lot of those energy efficiency upgrades and some of the additions. And like I mentioned as well, it's up to us to kind of criticize that. We don't have a say at the table to weigh in too heavily on those types of decisions. So when they're made, we have to obviously speak out against them. And as far as the amendment, it took time to get that thing together. It was crafted in a way to allow flexibility. I mean, we weren't asking, and they kept trying to, twist our words, but we were just asking for an amount up to the shortfall. Even days before that, there were talk about the Connecticut delegation bringing in additional funding. So we didn't know how much that would be. And I talked to the finance director over at the Board of Ed, and she didn't know how much it was going to be. Who knows what the shortfall would have been when those funds started rolling in, 3.8, 2.5, 1.1, 800,000. And that's when Councilman Rotello got in on the finance director and basically pinned them down with the $800,000 amount, because we actually did take that out of the fund balance shortly after the last amendment we made to remove a few funds from the fund balance. So it was a lot of moving parts. But again, it's been said already, at the end, I think we did a really good job. Frank mentioned some really, really clear, easy understand points that related to budgeting that people could really understand. And that was, in my opinion, really, really important. And a bunch of other guys made some good points too. But, I don't want to take too much more time and take too much credit for this thing. But it was a serious, conscientious effort from all of us. And I really appreciate the work that we all put in together, Madam Chair. That's really all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Perkins. Any other Councilman, Farley, Frank, or Roberto?
Yeah, Andrea, if I could, well, I didn't have a problem voting against what happens on the city council is we vote on the separate sections of the committees that were placed on. I had no problem. I was glad to vote against the education portion because I just didn't think we were doing enough for our children and for the city. Some may have had an issue doing it, but I did not. And then what I did too is I pointed out, it took a little time to get through it all, but Frank, Roberto, and I, and Rich, and we've been studying the budget book since we got it, and then we went back to budgets all the way back to Mayor Araquez's time, and we were looking at every single line items from then till now to see where the difference is. So what I'll do is not for myself, for self-aggrandizing, I'll put the link to my comments in the chat there, but we really broke it down to how much we were spending on education, during Mayor Araquez's term to mid 2000s to now, and you see the shrinking of the numbers. Facts really, numbers speak volumes when we're talking about this, and it's hard to refute any of them. I've gotten a lot of folks that reached out over the weekend talking about, the good work that we were doing and the comments that were made, and folks, both seniors, how this budget lacks support for our seniors. And of course, when we mention that is when the administration says, well, actually, after the budget, we're going to start planning on a senior program. Very convenient, being an election year. These are the things that we've been discussing, and we've been talking with folks. And as I've been out there with Councilman Alves throughout the city, great reception from folks who actually see a better vision for Danbury. And there's no better example than being at that rally that was held the day, which was supposed to be Tuesday, the education rally, where Frank, Roberto, Rich Molinaro, and Ben Chenise, Joe Britton, and I were there, along with other DTC members here. But you stand up for these things that matter, right? So we were there, and we were Molly, right, and yourself, Andrea, were there, and Elvis as well, I believe.
Wow. Yeah,
that's right. So you stand up for these things, and people recognize that. So,
yeah,
Glenda, of course, Glenda's on, and Glenda had that great little speaker there. That was awesome. So, we did try, but I'm not proud that it didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? I'd like to have action. So we're going to keep working. We've got to keep knocking on those doors and getting people to actually come out and vote.
So Frank or candidate Alves, anything to add?
Well, I think I spoke earlier and touched on it. I'm not going to sit here and repeat everybody else's, be respectful of everybody's time, but this is why this election is so important. The Republican Party showed that, where their values are, right? president now has a famous line, and I can't quote it verbatim right now because I know, but it's along the lines is, you don't have to tell me what your values are. You can show me your budget and I'll tell you what your values are. And we know that in Danbury, our budget shows us that they don't value education. They don't value investing in our community. They don't value our children. And it showed, and not one Republican. And then we have one who has a background on his Zoom of a Danbury Hatters, right? He was former chair of the Board of Ed. And you would think we can just pull one vote, even if it's just to be, symbolic. That it won't amend anything, but they just vote on party lines. And you see that as Democrats, we're the Big Tent party. There may be times where, we don't all agree on issues, and nobody's ever chastised us for voting with the Republicans on something else. We have the leeway to do what's right, and they don't. They don't. It was all no's, and that's very telling. So, come out. Let's change this. This is our best opportunity we've had in 20 years now to really change the trajectory of the city. A lot of you have already jumped on board and helped. And listen, let's do it together. We can do this. I'm excited for Saturday. It's going to be a big rally. We've walked a lot already, and I plan on walking more than anybody's ever walked in any election. And the trajectory, those who've been around a while, Joe, you can quote, you can help me out here and say if it's true or not, right? We're on a path to do that. I don't think anybody has walked as much as we have in the short time that we've already been out there. So thank you, everybody that's been a part of that. And it's thousands and thousands of doors already.
Thank you. Thank you, Rep. Arrow. Frank, anything?
I'm not gonna rehash any of the budget stuff. My comments are out there. The one thing that was interesting, just to let everybody know, I don't know if you noticed, 25 Myrie Brook Road came up again, and it's going to an ad hoc, so that ugly property rears its ugly head once again, and got to watch what's going to happen with that.
Madam Chair, if I could just one more thing. Frank is very humble. This week, the ad hoc committee on the volunteer firefighters abatement is going to meet. And I again just want to commend Frank for the hard work that he's put onto that, and look forward to seeing what happens at the committee.
Thank you.
Dwayne is a member of the
That's
three-member committee, so we've got Dwayne on there going to work with us.
And also a reminder, everyone, the ad hoc meetings also stream live on YouTube. They're conducted via Zoom. So you can see what's happening if you can't attend. While in real time, there's always the opportunity to go back. Any questions for council, men? Okay. All right. Our next regular meeting is Monday, May 10th at 7:30. I'm sorry, that's not true. It's June 10th, Monday, June 10th at 7:30. I will be sending out a poll to all members to see who of the membership is fully vaccinated, because there is the ability to now meet in person after May 19th. I'd like us to consider perhaps meeting in person at headquarters and start using our headquarters more. I do want to mention, which I did not mention under our chairman's report, is that there will be, just got a confirmation date for a drive. It's not necessarily a food drive. It is like a diaper drive from Action Together Connecticut that we will be running from our headquarters June 12th through the 16th, I believe, but I will get that information out to you. So our headquarters will be, again, put to good use for community and our for the community and our people in need. The last agenda item before adjournment is other business and important dates. I've listed the important dates on the agenda, including tomorrow's zoning commission meeting. We also have oh, I'm sorry, I have the old, I don't have the new agenda. Excuse me one moment. Board of Ed meeting is also this Wednesday. Saturday, May 15th at 10 a.m. at City Hall is the Alves for Danbury Day of Action. Tuesday, May 25th is another zoning commission meeting. On Wednesday, May 26th is our annual fundraiser at the Amber Room starting at 6:30. 8:30, in addition to another Board of Ed meeting. Tuesday, Tuesday, June 1st is the City Council meeting. That's what it is on the calendar. I just want to say, in my experience, generally the meeting gets pushed after a Monday holiday if it's the first of the month. So I'm not completely sure that if it's not being moved to the 8th, but I'm listing it as the 1st because that's what the city website calendar is. So therefore our next meeting, I'm sorry, I misspoke, is Monday, June 8th. Being a week after. If they move that meeting, I think we'll still keep our meeting on June 8th. Anyone else to report on any other business or important?
Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes, Jean.
June 8th is a Tuesday.
Sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. Monday, it would be Monday, June 7th. Thank you for that correction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Any other important dates or? Okay, so we know what happens now, right?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Andrea, I didn't get either the link or an agenda this month.
You know, it might have been, it was my error. I'm sorry, Bob. I need to do a different list.
There you go. Thank you.
From memory, and I'm sorry, I just overlooked, but you know how to get, well, you do keep it in your calendar and you do know how to get to us. So I'm glad that happened.
Great.
Sorry, and
I just, if I don't write things down, they don't exist. So I understand.
Thank you, Bob. So, Rich, that was a motion to adjourn. Is there?
Yes, second.
Okay, Joe De Silva, all those in favor?